What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Banter at the Bank. It has been a good while. Big long off season in between. Last time you've seen us, we just, after how last season ended, we just really needed the time off.
Yeah, and I mean, what a way to celebrate the time off than an Eagle Super Bowl, to
Oh my
take your
word,
mind off of it.
dude, I'm so happy right now. I was in a perpetual state of bliss that whole game. I felt like how you watch the Phillies play playoff games and you feel like your heart's about to blow up because they're falling apart. Yeah,
hmm
complete opposite I felt for that Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, 100%. My favorite part about it too is I just remember in the winter times, just waiting for baseball, there's nothing to watch on TV, and then now it's like they were packing up the trucks to spring training like right before the Super Bowl. I was like, oh man, like this is great. Like this is just
Yeah,
back to back awesomeness. So
I know.
we gotta win the Super Bowl more often.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big hockey guy too, so I know the Flyers aren't doing great, but they're still Matvey Michkov's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't need to get into hockey, but I love watching hockey, so that's been fun too. So, it's been good. But yeah, I'll let you go first. What are
No,
your
yeah, I
thoughts?
mean,
What are your thoughts on how that season ended there? We got to talk about it a little bit.
it's hard to take myself back in that mind space because I'm so excited for the season, and I feel like the Eagles kind of bailed the Phillies out. But I mean, I mean,
The Eagles just bailed out all of Philadelphia sports.
no, exactly. But I mean, obviously crushing, especially against the Mets, and I felt like all season we were in such a lead, and I was just like so excited for the playoffs. Like this is the year that they're gonna just get hot, and they're gonna take care of business after they have a chip on their shoulder after losing to the Diamondbacks, which they shouldn't have lost, and they're just gonna go in there and take care of business. They're all in their primes, and then they're just like completely lay an egg. As we get closer, I'm like, man, they're not playing good baseball, and I was trying to convince myself like, yeah, well, the last couple of years they weren't playing good baseball into the playoffs and came out strong, and then for
Yeah.
them to just lay an egg like that against our most hated rivals of the Mets is just it just was not. It was just heartbreaking, honestly. There's really no other ways to put it.
Yeah, I know. Um, I don't want to keep going back to the Eagles, but I think it was after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I had texted you and I said the Eagles 2024, no, not 24, 2023 season where it all just went to crap and they blew up in the playoffs and got outed right away reminds me a lot of the Phillies from last year.
hmm Yeah,
And if the Phillies can essentially pull themselves together like the Eagles did, where it's like, yeah, that's what happened. This happened. We're not thrilled about it, and we're gonna do something about it.
hmm
Oh, then they could. The thing is with baseball, like football, you could get hot and you could just be hot the whole season. Just I don't want to say it's short, but it is short. With baseball, you could get hot like we did last year, all the way up to where was it? Even the All Star break, pretty much, and then we just fell apart. Injuries. Bohm got hurt. He didn't really come back from that great. Turner got hurt. He came back okay, but he wasn't what he was before the All Star break. Um, it. I will say, I think that was the most balanced team we've had between hitting and pitching in a long time.
yeah, I definitely agree. Um, and I think we got. I mean, I know everyone complains about we don't do much in the off season, but like Lazardo's a huge pickup, which we'll get
Yeah, he
to.
is.
But it's like it, we had everything. It just felt like they got off so hot, and then they kind of lulled, and through July and August when they're still playing 500 baseball, I'm like, this is a good thing that they're going to heat up in late August, roll through
Yeah.
September, and then just come out firing. They're going to heat up at the right time, like, and then they just never really did, and it's like it kind of put some doubts into my head about this year. Like, man, are they just like a 500 team? Like, are they
Yeah.
a
And
late 80s win team? Because that's kind of how they played for 75% of the season.
yeah, and I don't know if this is just how baseball is, or if I'm just this scarred by Phillies teams,
Hmm.
that this is how I'm just always seeing it. They seem very streaky.
Hmm.
Like they either are all at the beginning of the year, Bohm was on and he kind of carried everyone. But then Bohm was not on, and then everyone was not on. And it was just kind of like either everyone was on all at once or everyone was off all at once.
Hmm.
And it's nice when everyone's on all at once because you do great things, but at the same time, you don't want to rely on everyone having to be on to
Hmm.
win baseball games. You should be able to win games just by playing good baseball and playing smart baseball and playing team baseball, even if not everyone's, hitting 300 with power.
Hmm.
And it feels like this team just relies on that so much last year that when they were just playing team baseball, when they were picking each other up, when they were, you know, realizing one person doesn't have to carry everything, that's when they played their best baseballs at the beginning of the year. They played as a team. They let the guy behind them pick them up, which just, happened to be Bohm, just the way the lineup was. But you just didn't see that at the end of the year. You could tell people were in their heads thinking, oh, it's on me to do this. I need to do this instead of, you know, yeah, I'm in a position to do this, but if I don't do it, so and so behind me's got my back. They're going to take care of it, which creates a way less pressure to at bat where you might honestly have a better at bat because there's less pressure on it. So I obviously didn't get very far in my baseball career, so I don't know how accurate that is, but I would, if it were me, I would want to be able to trust the guys in the lineup around me to pick me up so that I can go up there and have a mentally clean at bat and not have to worry about me having to do everything.
And I mean, you're 100% right, and like we saw this team do it for 2 years in a row, making deep playoff runs until, like you said, they all just stop at the same time, and it's like you can't pick each other up. Like, come
Yeah, I
on,
know.
So it's just that's what a championship team does, and we have the nucleus, we have the core. Like, I feel like it's a matter of time before it just happens, and they put it all together for an entire playoff run, and rely on their pitching staff, which I think is going to be, you know, probably the second best the Phillies have ever seen behind like a 2011. But um, yeah, it's just the offense has got to figure it out in the big games. And like you said earlier, it seems like they just press, and it's like, um, just go out and play. Like, it's just you guys play your game, and you can beat any team in baseball.
Well, and they proved that throughout the season last year too.
Hmm.
Like the Dodgers made the Mets look like wimps. Like they made the Mets look like they shouldn't have been there, which is the
Hmm.
truth.
Yeah.
No offense to the Mets, like they did put together a solid team last year, and they all got hot, and they never gave up. But the Phillies won 5 of the 6 games they played against the Dodgers last year. Like we clearly showed that in a 7-game series we would have won,
Hmm.
and you can't deny that. Like you just can't. Like, and it's not like we lost. Well, it's not even like we won close games. The first game we played, we won 10-1. Then the second game, we won 4-3. That was a close game. Next game we won 5-1. The only game we lost was 3-5. That's a close game again. But then the next 2 games that we won 6-2 and 9-4. like we were one of like their pitching's good. Like it had issues last year. Like there was injuries that they were dealing with, but we clearly showed that we were the better team than the Dodgers. It's just when it counted, they stepped up, and when it counted, we decided we wanted to crap our pants and go hide in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
anyway, we can leave it at that. Unless you got anything else yet, you gotta.
No. I mean, that's enough venting. I mean, I think it's just
Yeah.
as we lead into our conversation about this year, it's they have the guys to do it. Just
They have
get
to be
that
better.
edge. And it's
Yeah.
like you could tell, like, I mean, the Eagles brought in Saquon. I mean, keep talking about the Eagles, but it's like,
No, it's a good
but
comparison.
yeah, they brought in Saquon Barkley, and he just lit a fire under their butts. And it's like I was waiting all offseason for the Phillies to get that one. And it doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
superstar like Barkley is, but just like some
They
kind
just
of
need to get someone to come in and change the atmosphere of the locker room.
exactly. And I felt like
Yeah.
that's what they were trying to do when they got
Or I guess in baseball it's a
Castellanos.
clubhouse.
Yeah, but it's like they just need that guy with that mentality of like
Yeah.
holding people accountable and being a
hmm
good teammate. And it's just like it just feels like a lot of
Barkley
selfish
came in and he
players.
was like, I'm here to win. You're
Hmm.
either and he's like he's got that leader mentality to him. He's like, I came here because I want to win a Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure we win the Super Bowl because it's what I want.
Hmm.
Bryce is like that to an extent. You can tell it's what he wants most of the time,
Hmm.
but it's not what he wants all the time.
Hmm.
And I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think too, like Bryce, like I
Because
love
like you
Bryce,
almost, yeah. I mean, I'm
but
not
he just
saying Mike Trout's the same person that Saquon is,
right.
but like I don't know. I don't know. Like
Hmm.
if you would have, I don't. Let's leave it at this. I don't want Mike Trout. Too much money. Too old. Done. But he might have almost brought that, like, and he hasn't proved it either because he kind of shows up, takes his money. He could have gone elsewhere, and instead of he could have got the same money the Angels gave him from a competitor,
Hmm.
but he chose to just stay in LA and get a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we don't need to talk about Trout. We're not an Angels pod, but
Yeah.
he is
The
from
last thing
Philly.
the last thing I'll say on that too is like with the Saquon comparison, it's just like Harp like I feel like last year with the Eagles they fell apart because you know um, the issues with like, Hurts and AJ and everyone
hmm
was selfish, and I just feel like there's a lot of selfish players on the Phillies team, which like kind of
Yeah,
concerns me. And you also look at a guy like JT who's like a very unselfish, player, and but he just doesn't have that vocal leadership, and it's
yeah.
not same with Bryce, like he just seems like he's not like a vocal leader, and I just feel like, and then Schwarber is known to be, but he's not hype you up kind of guy, like
And I'm not trying to
he's a
discredit
fiery,
Schwarber either,
mm,
but he already has a World Series.
right, yeah,
Like he was part of that team, right? I'm not tripping.
yeah,
Yeah.
hmm,
And so he's already got one. He's not like
Winnie has probably like the coolest
Saquon, he
one of the
had
last,
nothing.
hmm,
Saquon literally had nothing. Like I think the Giants made one playoff appearance with him on their team. I don't
hmm,
even think he played because I think he was hurt or something like that. And so Saquon had everything to prove and nothing really to lose
yeah,
coming here. And yeah, I don't know. There's
well,
always the one thing that's great about the MLB is there's always the trade deadline.
hmm, yeah,
Like I'm not saying big things happen, but the way the season's positioned too, the trade deadline happens. Well, put it this way: the season's so big, so long that you can make a significant move at the trade deadline, and it can change the outlook of the season.
hmm,
Just because if you bring in someone like Saquon at the trade deadline, I'm not saying talent wise, just leadership wise, and the drive to want to win a World Series at the trade deadline, that they're respected enough that their voice can make a difference in the locker room, in the clubhouse there, it could make a difference. But in the Like the NHL, the trade deadline's next Friday, which leaves like a month left in the season. Like there's not many sports where the trade deadline's this late into the season.
Mm-hmm.
And baseball is position where, yeah, it is pretty like it's on the other side of the All-Star break. But the other side of the All-Star break, there's still like 60 games to play. Or maybe even 70. And so that's still like half the season. And the Mets prove that you can turn it around halfway through the season. Now, I'll give them credit for that. They didn't get very far after they beat us. They got smoked. But they proved that you can turn it around, and it's really a mental thing. And I just don't know if our team has the mentality to do it. They have the talent. It's just whether they can stay focused the whole time, which is hard. You could tell they were locked in at the beginning of the year, but then they just mentally got drained by the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one more thing on like the Saquon comparison, but I mean it definitely applies for baseball too because in 2022 they just had that edge of like JT never been to the playoffs, Gene Segura, Hoskins, like they all just had the Castellanos, like no he was at the playoffs, but yeah like they had these guys that were just so hungry to get there. When they got there, they're like we're not letting this opportunity slip, and I just feel like now they just have this like we'll get them next year mentality. Like we're a good team. Like whatever happens, happens. And it's like in reality, these guys are in their about to be approaching their mid 30s. Like
Most of them
the
are.
window is this year and next year. Like for this core group.
Yeah.
I mean, especially really it's this year if because who knows what's gonna happen with JT. I hope they resign him. And same with Schwarber, but this is like the year to do it. And I hope we're wrong and they pull together and they realize that this is the year to do it and they just get it done and they give us another parade because it's just been so frustrating to just get so close and just can't quite get it done.
Yeah. We'll see if they can pull it through, but yeah, it's frustrating nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
But
I will say I have faith in them. I think that they're gonna pull together. I think they're gonna have a good season.
Yeah. Well, let's get over last year and let's move on. So we'll put a little break in here. Let's do Phillies by the numbers. Get last year off our mind before we quite move into this year. So I have to pull it up because the stinking baseball reference thing I had up didn't actually have the jersey number on it that I wanted. Uniform numbers. All right, we are on to number 9. Now you got great examples from recent seasons. You got Whit Merrifield, Austin Hayes, both from last year. You got Travis Jankowski and Jay Bruce, legends. Can't forget Phil Gosselin. But there's, as you can tell, there's a lot of forgettable names. Juan Samwell wore it for a year.
Juan Samwell was a pretty good player.
So was Manny
we
Trio.
Weren't around to see him, but Von Hayes in the 80s.
I forgot Manny Trio played for the Phillies for a little bit. What a time.
Heine Mueller in 1938.
Wow.
I love the old names.
I know.
But any particular? Oh, sorry.
Gusman Kuso in 45.
But any recent players you wanna highlight?
Honestly, I'm gonna have to go. This stinks. There's just no. There's just the fact that I'm picking this person to say they're the best number 9 in Phillies history is just terrible. Like it should go to Manny Trio if I'm being honest, but like I mean, just too much of me that wants to say Dom Brown. Just because I experienced that whole situation. I
He's the
had
best.
Dom Brown sign my baseball glove when he was in the minor leagues because he was supposed to be this big shot.
Yeah, I mean,
Such a
he
sad.
was the best. He was the best number 9 of our lifetime. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know. And it was just one season. It wasn't even one season. It was half of a season.
It was like 2 months. It was like wasn't it like I think it was like May and June. I think he just like
Yeah.
went but not that was such a fun time though because I think that was what 2013. They had a lot of injuries in 2012, and then it's like this is the
Yeah.
passing of the torch, and from Rollins and Utley and Howard to Don
Uh-huh.
Brown, Nucleus, and um, it was fun while it lasted. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it this way. If we're being in all seriousness, Von Hayes gets it.
hmm Yeah.
But um Dom Brown, I couldn't not talk about Dom Brown when you talk about number 9.
hmm
But in terms of like
We'll say
biggest name,
Von Hayes and Don Brown are the same amount of All Stars. One, just saying.
that's terrible. Yeah, but how many top 10 MVP finishes does Dom Brown have?
That would be a goose egg. That would be
There
a
we
goose.
go. Von Hayes has one. I will say that was a very good season he put up there. 46
Maybe
doubles is still good, even in today's game.
what did his stats end up in 2013?
So 2013,
272, 27 home runs, and 83 RBI.
yeah,
That's not
it was
bad.
like the year Harper won MVP.
3.2 WAR. That's actually wild. Whoa,
Yeah,
that's crazy to think about.
yeah,
Wait, and Harper was what 20? 20 when he no 22.
I have no idea.
Dang, Don Brown's only 3 years older than Harper.
Yeah,
36,
no, Harper's.
37. 4 years. 4 years.
I was gonna say Harper's not that old.
Yeah, 4 years. Still though, that's kind of wild. He's been out of baseball for 10 years.
No, Harper's 32.
36. Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah. Either way, I heard he's a hitting coach now.
Yeah, he
Ironic.
gets spotted at the stadium
He
sometimes.
was a very good hitter. Like I will say that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
I will say his
yeah.
swing was a little unorthodox, but like
hmm I remember when he came up too. That was like the most hyped
because we
prospect.
had
Like
nothing. We had nothing.
I remember like
We,
those prospect lists where it was like Trout, Harper, Don Brown. It's like
he was supposed to be the bridge,
yeah,
like you said.
yep.
He was supposed to lead us from Utley Rollins Howard into a new era
I mean,
of
he still
red.
did that, but a new era of a bunch of
Yeah.
crap. So technically, it's kind of, we
He
were
did
right,
start
but
a new era, yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah, the most notable name on this list is Manny Trio, but um, I think Von Hayes is probably the best player to wear 8 and wear 9 in Phillies history.
mhm.
Stay tuned. Next, we go to number 10,
Oh yeah.
the battle of
Oh,
the
there's a lot.
battle of the
There's
catchers.
a lot better players to talk about. Number 10 for sure.
It's, I think it's clear cut.
Yeah,
The
I think so too. Stay tuned
which catcher?
though.
Go Jeff Jenkins.
Yeah.
All right, there's Phillies by numbers. I love that segment. So let's get a move on. Let's talk about this season now. Let's go over the off season. Um, like we were hinting at earlier, they didn't make a big splash like we were kind of hoping they would. But if we're also being honest, there wasn't really a big splash to be had.
Mhm.
Just state of the team. Um,
Unless you're
not
paying
really.
700 million for
Yeah,
Soto, but
exactly. And
yeah.
I will not lie, I was part of the camp where I thought there was a chance, but I also was part of the camp where I didn't want to pay him. So I just I took it as like, how did you approach that with Soto? I took it as if it happens, cool. If it doesn't, I don't really care.
Yeah, I took it as like I just I didn't I just didn't see a world where like they would sign him because I mean, everyone kind of knew this was going to come. Instead, we kind of doubled down on the window when we signed Trey. It was kind of like,
Hmm.
but I mean, that I mean, the Trey and Harper contracts look better and better as the years go on. Because I mean,
Oh,
Shohei
they will.
really just
Harper's
ruined
contract looks like a
baseball.
steal.
Yeah, and it's just like it's like how did that escalate so quickly? Like if it feels like 350 million was like holy cow, and then now it's like almost a billion. I mean,
It
it's just
was,
insane.
yeah. Well, Harper started it. Harper and Machado, they started the window of like like it was a while ago. So like Harper and Machado started the window of young players come up early
Mhm.
because the when Harper and Machado were free agents, the big talk was there's never been like 27-year-olds reaching free agency
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
normally by the time you're 27, you've been in like a lot of players don't come up till they're 24. So at
Mhm.
20, or I was thinking, I saw 23 in my head and I said 24, but
Yeah, yeah,
they don't
between
come
like
up till they're
22 and
23,
yeah.
24. So by the time they're at 27, when Harper and Machado got their contracts, they're still like in the first year of arbitration.
Mhm.
And so they don't get to sign bigger contracts until they're 30 at that point. And then you're paying a guy on the wrong half of 30 a lot of money, whether he's worth it or not, who knows. But that was the talk. And so then you had guys like Shohei who came over. He doesn't have a typical contract because of how it all went down because he came over from Japan and I don't know, let's see. What kind of contract did he sign originally with
Yeah, that's a good
Angels?
question. I think it was like I feel like it wasn't even 100 million.
No, it wasn't. Where is it?
I think it was 2017. Oh no, it was over 100. Was it? Hold on. Why can't it just pop up on Google?
Yeah, of all the things that pop up on Google, why is this not the one that I want?
Phenom Otani signs with the Angels. That's crazy.
That's the one that I'm looking
2017.
at right now too. That is
Yeah.
wild. I didn't think it was that long ago, but he really did just kind of
Dude, we're getting
fester
old.
away.
Another quick little old thing
That's when we
about
graduated high
contracts.
school.
Yeah. Well, we're
That was
we're
8 years
over.
ago. Not eight
We're
years
oh.
ago. I can't do math. Holy smokes, I'm an engineer. I can do math.
It's
All right, where's the
it is
number?
8 years ago.
No.
Yeah, it
Oh,
is.
wait, I did my math right.
You were spot on.
Oh, holy smokes.
That's wild.
All right,
Holy
well, the
cow.
fact that we can't find this contract,
Yes. Oh yeah, this is weird.
no one wants to, no one wants you to know. Oh, no, that's what no, that's not it.
It said you had a $3 million signing bonus, but that I mean, but yeah, we're over halfway done with Harper's contract.
I know,
How
it's wild.
crazy? How crazy is that?
I remember me and my buddy Dan, we freaked out in college when Harper signed. Like,
Yeah.
I think the first time we heard that there was rumors, we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, there's no way. Like, there's just no way he wouldn't come here. And then the closer we got, we were looking at each other and we're like, we're like the only team left.
Yeah.
And then when he actually signed, we like flipped out. Like
Mhm.
he came running down to my room, or I went running. I forget where exactly I ran to. We ran to each other pretty much because of the people on our floor. We were the two that liked the Phillies and baseball the most. So it was hilarious. But dude, I lost my mind. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like at first, I was like, do I really want Bryce? He's so polarizing. But it's
Yeah.
been nothing but good though.
Yeah. I love them. I remember when they signed him. I was in class and I just felt my phone blowing up, and I'm like, could this be it? Could this be it? Could this be it? And then there it was. I think I skipped class after that and just listened to WIP like the rest of the day. But
I can guarantee you I was doing something in my dorm room. I can't
yeah,
remember what though, but
that's crazy that we
anyway,
can't find this show contract. But
yeah. But anyway,
that,
that was the start of it.
yeah.
And then you got people like Steve Cohen coming and taking over the Mets,
Hmm.
which I will say I am, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Phillies fan and I don't like the Mets. That's the dumbest contract anyone's ever given a player. I'm not
Hmm.
saying Juan Soto is not worth a lot of money, and he's not a very good. I'm not saying he's not good. He's just not worth as much as Shohei's making.
Yeah, I agree. But also too at the same time, you're like, he's a couple years older, and Shohei probably won't pitch for very many more years. If I would
No,
imagine.
but
Shohei's like the face of baseball. He has the international market. He
I
has,
know.
and like yeah, like Soto doesn't. I mean, he has. I wouldn't say Soto's. He's probably top what 5 for the face of baseball,
Yeah, I would
but
say.
like I don't think he's like the. I mean, even on when he was on the Yankees, Judge was more of a face of baseball than him. So I.
Just the way the Mets are.
Hmm.
I don't know their farm system well, but I do know they don't have a great one. And so that leaves you with the situation that the Phillies were in a couple years ago where, all right, if you don't have a great farm system, now you have to buy everyone
Hmm.
to make a team. And with how much percentage of the like there's no cap in baseball, but like for lack of a better word, for how much money he's making, it leaves like no flexibility to bring in other people to fill out a good team without losing draft picks based on the luxury tax.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of just signing up to be well over the luxury tax for many years, which
Yeah.
I guess if you're Cohen, you're like, oh, I can just keep shelling the money. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But
but eventually you start losing draft picks. And if your
hmm.
farm system's not like that's my big thing. I'm a big draft guy and a big prospect guy because I see that as the fuel for the fire,
Hmm.
essentially. And that's where you build through. And if you don't have a good farm system coming up through, then how are you supposed to sustain success?
Hmm.
And if what you're doing at the MLB level like is an easy direct um negative, I guess I'll say, towards building a farm system, like it's okay to do what the Dodgers do where they trade all these prospects away because they have them to do it. They keep
Hmm.
sustaining, they can train these prospects really well, make them look great, and then trade them away. And I'm not saying they don't turn into good players because a lot of them turn into pretty decent MLB players, but they have them to trade, and that's okay. But when you're
Hmm.
doing things like losing draft picks because you're over the luxury tax, that's an easy preventative thing. Now, I'm not saying not to sign people and pay them their fair share of money. Like, if you have a homegrown guy, pay him.
Hmm.
Like, it's easy as that. Pay him. But, like, when you go out and you sign someone like Soto, you could easily lose a draft pick because of compensation.
Hmm.
If the Yankees had offered him a qualifying offer, which I'm sure they did, they'd lose a draft pick and the Yankees get one for that. And then if you're in the tax threshold and you're losing a first round pick after 3 years, well, how does that help? Because now you lost a first round pick and it's hard enough to hit on players in the MLB draft in the first round. Like,
Hmm.
so that's my biggest pet peeve. But you have to spend money to make money. You have to spend money to win championships. There's a balance between going into the threshold and being able to stay under the tax threshold by having good young players come up and contribute that keep your overall monies down while being able to give star players at key positions money to sustain success. So I just don't think what the Mets are doing is gonna vibe well, I guess.
Yeah,
It's a viable option for long-term success.
yeah,
Uh,
and I hope it doesn't. I hope it
oh well,
doesn't.
the thing is, I can see what they're doing. I can see what Cohen thinks. He can just buy his way to a championship,
hmm
but he can't, and it kills me because I love the Phillies. I hate the Mets, but I love baseball.
hmm
I just hate seeing people do stupid stuff and win stupid prizes. But
hmm Especially, and it's messing up the whole market for
yeah,
everybody else, you know.
yeah. But that's
But
enough about every other team's off season except the
yeah.
Phillies.
But yeah, I mean, back to the Phillies. I mean, besides Soto, what's another? I mean, move that the move that I wanted to like when they were announcing they were going to try to trade Bohm and then possibly bring Bregman in on a 3-year deal. I mean, that like could have worked out well, but I do agree that you shouldn't have just given up Bohm for what he's not worth. I think he'll be a good player for years to come. But I did like I think they've gotten good prospects back and had kind of a placeholder for Aiden Miller potentially, who's like a very productive hitter still, even though he's a little on the older side. That would have been
Yeah,
a deal that I really would have liked them to make, but I
I
think
thought.
I'm more happy that they kept Bohm just because I
Me
think.
too. I thought I didn't think he was actually leaving
Mhm.
because I knew Dombrowski reminds me a little bit of Daryl Morey
Mm,
from the Sixers. Just in case none of y'all know who that is, where he knows the value of his player and he's not just gonna dump him to dump him.
yeah.
Like Morey held on to Ben Simmons way too long, but in the end he got the correct value for Ben Simmons.
Mhm.
Same with James Harden. And yeah, he waited too long, but he got the value that was due because he said, "Look, I know my value. I'm not moving. If you really want him, come get him. Otherwise, we're going to keep him because he's a player worth keeping."
Mhm.
Um kind of like what the Flyers are doing right now with Scott Lawton. They easily could trade him and get a bunch for him, like not a bunch, but get a decent recuperation for him, but he's worth more to them than what they're going to get for him. So if someone's willing to pay what they want for him, yeah, come get him. We'll give him to you. But until then, he's more valuable to us than he is to you if we don't get the value we're due.
Mhm.
So all that to say, I really wanted to send him to the Mariners for Logan Gilbert. I've really there's a couple ways to look at it. Like you could look at that as the Phillies need to give up more, but you could also look at it as the Mariners need bats so badly. And what do they have? They have pitching. And you're not gonna they're not a big enough market to have people go there. They need to trade for people. And when you're a small market team, you need to be willing to trade a piece for another piece to then sign long term.
Mhm.
So I thought it was a good like I could be underestimating Logan Gilbert's trade value. I could be. I thought Bohm for Gilbert straight up would have been acceptable as a trade.
Mhm.
But I could be overestimating Bohm's value and I could be underestimating Gilbert's value all in the same. Just, yeah, I don't know. But um, what we did get though was Jesus Luzardo,
Mhm.
who arguably could be just as good as Logan Gilbert if he has a bounce back season.
Yeah.
And you got him for I don't want to say pennies on the dollar because Starlin Cabo and Emmanuel Boyd are good prospects.
Mhm.
Like Cobb is a very good prospect. Boyd, he's fast, so I liked him. But um, but you really did get Jesus Luzardo for pennies on the dollar just because he was hurt a lot last year, and the Marlins are clearinghouse.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this move a lot. I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before, but there is like a bit of a log jam, at the shortstop position with Turner contract and then Miller coming up, and um, I feel like we just have some good guys in the pipeline at that position. So to get a 27-year-old lefty starter who, I mean, the last two before last year under 3.3 ERA and a 3.58. I mean, and then 178 innings in 23. I mean, that's like, I mean, third starter on many teams, and we already have, I mean, Suarez, who's like a bona fide third starter, and Sanchez, who's a good middle of the rotation guy. It's like we just have like stud deep pitching, and pitching is what you know it can win championships, but also pitching is what kind of gets you through the dog
Mm-hmm.
days, gets you to have 95, 90, 90, 95 wins plus.
Yeah.
So I think this move was great. I wasn't expecting them to get a starter just based off of our pitching hasn't been the problem the last 2 or 3 postseasons, but I mean the more the merrier, especially with, if you're dealing with injuries.
Yeah, I will say it was unexpected,
Mhm.
but I'm not gonna not take it.
Yeah, and I feel like too, like I think Rangers showed that when they extended him and excuse me, when they made him go, more than like the 4 or 5 innings that he usually goes, he burn out really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think ultimately for this year we have a very deep rotation, but I think Ranger will probably walk next year, and Lazard will be the guy. If all goes.
I do agree. I think
Mhm.
this trade, unfortunately, is like there was a lot of things I wanted to happen this offseason. And the two guys I wanted to trade just because they felt like the pieces to get flipped were Bohm and Suarez.
Mhm.
And I love both of them. Like Bohm is my favorite player on this team. I just love him. I don't know why. It could be the hair. I'm not sure. But um they just felt like the odd man out.
Mhm.
And this trade for Luzardo just kind of bona fides that if Luzardo can have a bounce back year, he can regain form and he can stay healthy the whole year. Well, then we'll either trade Suarez at the deadline and get something for him, because someone will pay up for him, or we just let him walk,
Mhm.
offer him a qualifying deal just to get him qualified, and someone will sign him, and we'll
Mhm.
get a draft pick for him.
Yeah.
Um, it stinks because you hate losing well-respected homegrown players, and when it was Suarez and Cole Irvin coming up through the system, I loved both of them, but Suarez was my favorite, and I always thought they undervalued him.
Mhm.
Um, and he's proven his worth now.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where it stinks, but stuff happens, and
Yeah.
good players get money, and when you're a good team, you don't always have money.
Mhm. And I mean, still, I mean, who knows how it plays out? Maybe Suarez can, maybe he can come back on like a shorter term deal. Doesn't get the respect around the league to get demand a big contract. Maybe he does, and then we play it perfectly. Maybe Sanchez doesn't have a great season, and then Lazardo's playing that role. So I think it's just great to have more pitchers, especially left-handed pitchers, and I think
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Suarez move could I mean, like imagine like a 1 through 4 in the playoffs of Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez, and then Lazardo, then Sanchez. I mean, if Lazardo has a good season like that,
Yeah.
it's insane. So.
So I think it'll be interesting if Lazardo. Who I don't even think he's pitched in spring training yet, but
Mhm.
um, if Lazardo comes out hot and isn't just hot, he's good. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't just come out hot and then he cools off, but he comes out hot and then he like maintains a solid, like even a 3.5. I'm okay with a 3.5 ERA from
Mhm.
him. Like I'll call that like love it. Um if he can maintain anywhere from a 3.2 to a 3.5 ERA, I would be and I might eat these words later. I would be perfectly fine trading Suarez at the trade deadline to get whatever you could get. Like, you would get max value for him at that point, assuming he's having a good year. Now,
Would you want to do that though?
that's the only thing.
Like, what if
It
someone gets hurt?
depends on how everyone else is pitching.
Yeah.
Because, come that point of the season too, Painter could be coming up. And so you trade Suarez and you bring in Andrew Painter to replace him essentially. And what you get for Suarez, you don't try and get MLB ready guys. You get stuff to bolster the farm system. It'll be interesting to see how the season goes, because Painter's that one piece where you don't want to rely on and you don't want to really talk about him until it's a true possibility. But I've been hearing good things from his rehab. So it just makes you excited. But I really do think it could be a possibility that you trade Suarez at the deadline, let Painter come up at that point, and you make sure that Painter's ready to go for about 100 innings at the end of the season there. Maybe not even 100. He might just need like 80. I don't know. Whatever it take to get from the trade deadline to the end of the season.
Yeah.
From Painter. It'll be fascinating.
Yeah, and that's what's so. I mean, that's kind of what brings us back to why I like the move so much. Is like they're just so deep. They can do so many different things, and
Sounds like the Eagles and their offensive line.
Yeah, no, very true. Could you imagine though too? What if they're also, because they still have Walker,
and I've heard good things out of spring so far from Walker.
Yeah,
I heard he did a weighted ball throwing program, and he actually gained a decent bit of velocity. Like, now he's sitting low to mid 90s instead of high 80s, low 90s. That's enough. And if his control's there, I've heard his bullpens have looked really good. So the hope, and I don't think he's a long man, though. I don't know if you could bring him out of the bullpen. It never really worked last year, but I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, there's just so many options, and it's kind of too early to tell what they're going to do. But I am really curious to see what Topper's opening day rotation is going to be.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So let's just touch on these other guys. Jordan Romano, brought him in from the Blue Jays. I think it's just a 1-year deal. He had a lot of injuries that he was dealing with last year. But I'll bring his stats up for those of you who don't know who Jordan is. Very good player when healthy. His whole career has been in Toronto. And he's a 2-time All-Star, and he's got 2 seasons of over 30 saves. In 2022, he had 36 saves. 2023, he had 36 saves, and he was an All-Star both years. Last year, like I said, he was injured for a decent bit, and he only pitched in 15 games, and his ERA was awful. So the hope really is that he comes in and he can regain his form, because when he was good, he was good. Like, from 2020, no one really pitched much because it's 2020. But from 2020 to 2023, he was really good. Like, in 2020, he had a 1.23 ERA. In 21, he had a 2.14. 22, he had a 2.11. 23, he had a 2.90, which is still really good, but compared to his other years, it's not as good.
Yeah.
But you're going from, wow, you're not very good anymore. You're not, the best closer in the league. You're just top 5 now. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely worries me a little bit, just health wise, and I know his velocity was way down last year, which is obviously due to injury.
Yeah.
So if he can regain form, I mean, that's an absolute steal to go.
He pitched today and he looked pretty good.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah. He
So
won. I think he won 1, 2, 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I
Actually,
like that.
I could tell you. I have the game stats up. Uh, Pitched an inning, struck out 2. No hits, no runs, no walks.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So, well, yeah, I mean, I think it could. I like the under the radar moves and
Yeah.
getting guys, that
And
could be
so
over their value, and you know,
I
so
think I think another good signing, and we won't talk about it much probably, is Joe Ross. Like most places still list him as a starter.
mhm,
I see him more as a 2, 3 inning guy out of the bullpen anymore, which I think would be solid.
mhm,
I really think Joe Ross is still a good long relief pitcher.
mhm,
I don't know if you want him to flex into a start, really, which is where you'd want Taiwan Walker available to flex into a start.
mhm.
But I've always seen Joe Ross as a solid 3, 4, 5 pitcher in the league, and it always seemed like he ended up on a team that wasn't very good as their number one. Um, so I've always liked Joe Ross for what I think he is, and I
Mhm.
think he's good at like back of the rotation. But this stage of his career, I think he'll be a solid long relief. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't
I
think he
think,
pitched today, but no,
yeah,
he pitched yesterday.
I think another really good move that the Phillies made was Max Kepler.
Oh yes.
I think, I mean, that obviously dealt with injuries past, last year for sure, and then you know, a couple of years there of his career, but I mean, you
I'm
know,
really surprised the Twins didn't bring him back.
yeah, yeah, I am too. I wonder if the Phillies, I mean, like he hit 36 home runs in 2019. I mean, I wonder if they're like, you know what, his swing and his build will, look, play really well at Citizens Bank. Um, he's not that much. He's not really much of a contact hitter, which is like feels like that's what we need. I mean, his on base percentage per career is only 318. Um, but I mean, I think he's for a solid option to have in left and then Martian center, or maybe a platoon guy. I mean, I think. Um,
I mean, I've been hearing rumors that I don't know if it's from Topper, but I've heard that the plan pretty much is that Kepler's the left fielder.
wow. Okay.
And then Marsh and Rojas are kind of just going to platoon in center.
Okay.
Or Marsh
Yeah.
might be the everyday, and then Rojas comes. Yeah, I don't know. But I've heard that it kind of sounds like Kepler's going to be the guy in left.
Hmm.
I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I do like Kepler. Like I've always liked Kepler.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure Domber wanted to trade for him a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
and last year, like we were saying, he didn't have a great year, but he didn't have a by all means he didn't have a terrible year.
Hmm.
Like you'd like to see more home runs, but really, someone batting 253. Okay, well he did strike out a lot for what it was, but he was struck out once a game. But I mean, I still think he's solid. Like just 2 years ago, he had double-digit home runs, and just looking at his stats, he's more likely to have double-digit home runs than not. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think he'll be solid. Like he's not gonna play like he did in 2019,
Hmm. Yeah.
where he had 36 home runs and 90 RBIs. But I think you could get like 2021 Kepler.
Yeah.
Ignore the batting average, but like if you get the 20 home runs, 50 to 60 RBIs, I don't know. I don't mind that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Well, that's impressive. That 2019 season, Kepler didn't get the All Star nod, but he was top 20 in MVP voting.
Dang, Jory number 17. That's kind of sad.
Poor Hoskins.
Yeah.
Well,
Still miss him.
yeah. So I guess we could touch on who we lost. Just might as well. So
Yeah.
I have a list here. So Kingery got traded for cash. Long live Scotty
Which
Jetpacks.
I'm happy that he did because like I think he's an at least bench player on a poor MLB team or even a starter on a not so good team. So for him to go to the Angels, I think that's huge for him. And
Yeah,
I'm happy.
which
I've always liked Scotty as a player. I think that contract really kind of screwed up his chances because they didn't want to add him on the 40-man to go over the luxury tax for all these years.
mhm.
And it's just like, I mean, yeah, he got the money and everything, but it's like he really couldn't recent in his career, and no one was going to trade, a guy that you can sign for the league minimum, with that kind
Well,
of
I
money.
think
So.
that whole because he was coming up around the same time Hoskins was, and it was that whole era of launch angle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's still not a thing today, because it is, but it was bigger then, and they pretty much tried to completely redo his swing. And the second they started messing with his swing was like, you don't pay someone $6 million a year to say, hey, we need to completely change you now. A dude's
Yeah.
good, a dude's good. Let him hit. And that was my biggest pet peeve. So I'm glad he's getting a chance with the Angels. Philly should have. Last year he was on a cheap deal because his 6-year contract had run out. So he was on a cheap deal last year. They didn't have room to bring him up to the 40 man because they didn't have a spot to cut. But I really thought he should have come up a few times instead of some of the guys that we did bring up. But he had a really good
Mm-hmm.
year last year, so I'm happy for Scotty. Um, I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I am too.
we also lost Iverson uh, Castellano. Is that how you say it? I don't know. He was one of
Yeah.
our better pitching prospects, and for whatever reason, we just let him not on the 40 man and left him available in the Rule 5 draft, which is where he then got selected by the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked up a few articles from Twins people recently, um, and they're all very high on him, which I was very high on him here. Um,
Yeah.
so everything they're saying, I'm like, well, yeah, I completely agree. I don't know why the Phillies let him go. Um, but the thing with the Rule 5 draft, though, is if he doesn't make their opening day, like if he doesn't stay on their roster the whole year, the Phillies can just get him right back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what the Phillies were banking on is, yeah, he's a really good prospect, but I think they were banking on the fact that even if someone picks him, he's not going to actually make their roster, which you never know with the Twins. They just kind of the Twins are the type of team where
There's
they would keep someone and just stash him
yeah.
on their major league roster, not out of spite, but just out of we don't need this roster spot because we try to be competitive, but we actually don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've heard good things from him from Twins camp. I just I want the best. Like I want him to pitch as well as he can, but I really hope he doesn't make his way onto their major league roster, and at some point they try and send him back down, and we're like, nope, we'll take him back. So
Yeah.
I'm
So
hoping
time
that's
will
the
tell.
case. It's just kind of wild to think about it though, because he was the Paul Owens Award winner for pitching this past year.
Wow.
And like just for reference, Justin Crawford won the hitting portion of it. 2 years ago, Rojas was the hitter and Kirkring was the pitcher awarder. And 3 years ago, then yeah, Derek Hall won the hitting portion and Andrew Painter got the pitching portion. So it's not like these are slouches that get these awards that the Phillies give out.
Right.
And so the fact that you have a Paul Owens Award winner, which is a Phillies award, it's not an MLB award, but the fact that you got the guy that won the pitching portion of the Paul Owens Award, just you're just kind of like, all right, cool, see it. I don't get it. And, like, I trust the front office; they've been doing a good job. I question this.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we lost Kaba and Marion Boyd, as we touched on. You didn't have anything else to say about Castellano, did you?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So we got Jordan Romano from the Blue Jays, but then the Blue Jays took Jeff Hoffman from us.
Mm.
I've been hearing different things. Like I was listening when we played the Blue Jays. The only thing I had was the Blue Jays broadcast to listen to and watch. So they were raving about Jeff Hoffman, which duh. And I don't understand why we didn't sign him. Like, I'm really confused.
Yeah, it just seems like the Phillies are just trying to like. I feel like they're like trying to cut back and stay under the the luxury tax and all that, and it's just like. Plus, I mean, when we think about it, he was kind of a guy that we found and gave a chance to, and he went and got paid. So I think probably their philosophy is, well, we can find the next strong
Yeah.
reliever. We don't have to pay him this premium. And I think too, it's also I think Kirkring's gonna have a lot
Oh,
bigger
I do
role this
too.
year.
It's just it always feels like the Phillies in their bullpen, and I'm gonna keep making Eagles comparisons. The Phillies in their and this comparison I'm about to make is gonna hurt my soul because it's not great foreshadowing for this all season. The Phillies in their bullpen remind me of the Eagles in their linebackers. They always try and find the bargain bin dudes, and they just kind of once they find a good one, like TJ Edwards. I love TJ Edwards. When the Eagles drafted him and they didn't even draft him. He went undrafted. I loved him. I thought he was going to be like a mid-round pick. He went undrafted. The Eagles got him, turned into a stud. Didn't sign him, just kind of let him walk because I didn't want to pay a linebacker. You find Zach Bond now. I'm hearing the Eagles are going to sign Zach Bond. Will they though? But that reminds me of the Phillies and their bullpen, and it's just you always try and get the best bang for your buck, and they let stuff slide in
Mm-hmm.
certain places that I don't think they can afford to let them slide.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
I will say the Romano deal does kind of line up where if he's good this year, cool. If he's not, he's not. Um, it's just a 1 year thing. And Schwarber comes off the books. Who else comes off the books? Someone else comes off the books. JT comes off the books. And I'm not saying these in like negative aspects of like they're off the books, but they're gone. But you know who's a free agent this summer or next year?
Who?
Devin Williams,
Mm.
which is another
Yeah.
guy I thought the Phillies were going to trade for, but
Yeah.
I was not ready for him to go to the Yankees. But
Yeah.
he's a free agent now. Are the Phillies actually going to spend money on a big name reliever? Probably not, because they don't. But anyway, that thought has popped into my head a few times.
No, I
But
mean, it's a great
yeah,
comparison with the linebackers, and it feels like a lot of them missed over the years. But like you said,
yeah,
this one finally hit, and it's like, all right, well, see ya. Like, let's just try the
exactly, yeah,
whole piecemeal thing again. So
exactly.
yeah.
But Carlos Estevez, he went to Kansas City. I, I wanted to bring him back, but the issue is if you bring him back, you're almost saying he's your closer,
Mm-hmm.
but because there's not a closer. Like if we had like let's just because I already talked about him, let's just say we got Devin Williams. If we have Devin Williams, heck, bring back Hoffman or Estevez and just let him be a setup guy. Or bring back somehow. You're not going to bring back both of them, but if you could have brought back both of them, bring them both back. Let them pitch. Like if you had Hoffman, Estevez, and Devin Williams, 7, 8, 9, do you lose a baseball game? Especially if Nola and Wheeler give you 6 or 7 every single time they pitch. Like, anyway. Anyway. And then Austin Hayes went to the Reds, which I'm happy for him too. He's a lot better than the version of Austin Hayes we got. He was hurt a lot. He had that whole kidney infection thing at the end of the year last year that just about killed him mentally and physically. So like, I wanted to bring him back, but I think he's better than the version that we got.
Yeah, I thought that was a good move when it happened. It was just disappointing, but it kind of was out of his control. So
Yeah.
hope he does well for the Reds. I think he's
Yeah.
a good guy.
So we did get 2 guys in the Rule 5 draft, but we got Mike Vasil, who's a starting pitcher. We took him from the Mets, but then we immediately traded him to the Tampa Bay Rays for cash or a player to be named later. And then in the minor league portion, we took Eduardo Lopez, who's an outfielder from the Red Sox. So, yeah, there's that. But the one guy,
some more cash.
I know. So the one guy that's left from our team last year that we haven't talked about yet is Spencer Turnbull, who,
yeah,
I really wanted them to bring him back.
Yeah, he was really a nice breath of fresh air last year. How well he pitched. Where did he go?
Nowhere.
Totally. Oh, he's still out there. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know why they wouldn't even bring him in for camp.
Right.
I don't know if that's just too weird at this point. Yeah, we didn't resign you, but here, come be in camp. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
they also have a loaded rotation right now. They don't really need any more depth, you know.
Yeah, but like I was praising Joe Ross earlier, but like Joe Ross is this year's Spencer Turnbull, for lack of better anything. Just kind of he's in here to see what he could do. If he could be a long relief guy, cool. But I don't know. Like I almost feel like part of me says you have to bring Turnbull in. Like even if you could get him on a minor league deal. Just my whole deal with this is I want to get as much buffer between Painter and people trying to get him up to the major leagues if something would happen. So like say like Sanchez gets hurt. You need another pitcher now. All right, who's coming up? If you don't have depth, if Painter's your best pitcher in the minor leagues, everyone's going to be like, bring Painter up. Well, no, he's still rehabbing. He's not ready. And that puts a bunch of pressure on him and the Phillies. So if you can buffer that and say, we're not bringing him up because, all right, Taiwan's pitching and Turnbull's coming up and he's going to be in the bullpen now. Or Turnbull's been in the minor leagues. He's been pitching well. He's going to come up and fill in for Sanchez now. Great. There's your answer. But I feel like if you don't have that buffer, people are going to be clamoring for Painter before he's ready. And I know Dombrowski and Topper are going to make the right decision. But like, if you can avoid this situation, avoid the situation.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
And I also don't know how much you could rely on Walker, even though I do like what you're hearing out of camp. So like right now, your best backup starting pitcher is Taiwan Walker. Do I really want that? If what I'm hearing out of camp is reliable and is accurate, oh yeah, I want him. But if we're just getting the same old Taiwan Walker, I don't want that. Do I want Joe Ross to try and pitch? Maybe not start, but so I feel like there's not enough depth there, and part of that's just not many veterans want to sign a minor league deal anymore. I don't blame them, but
no. Yeah, I think no, that's a good point you have though, because it's like we have depth, but all these guys need to be on, in the big leagues. Because I mean, Walker has the contract. I mean, you're not going to send Sanchez in the rotation. I mean, it's going to be really interesting what they do. Maybe Joe Ross does start in the minors, and he's kind of that guy.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, maybe he has a good spring, he gets signed somewhere else. Yeah, that is a good point that you made.
So we'll see. So I think there's one we could talk about spring training battles, but I don't. There's not much there to talk about.
Mm.
There's not many battles. You got like we could briefly touch on now because then I want to close with one thing. So spring training battles. We'll just talk about it. Backup catcher. I don't think there's much of a battle there. As much as I hate to say what I'm about to say, I think is Marshawn. I love Marshawn. Don't get me wrong. I'm not upset. It just stinks because I love Stubby. Stubby's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But Marshawn's out of options.
Mm.
And you're not going to keep both Marshawn and Stubby. Stubby's got an option left. So you can send him down and you're not going to lose him.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it for Stubby because I doubt he wants to go back down. But you can't send Marshawn down. Someone else is going to take him. He's too good. He's a
Yeah.
player that's not going to get through waivers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was listening to, I think it was the Rays or the Blue Jays. One of the teams we played recently in spring training, I've had to watch their broadcast on MLB TV instead of the Phillies because the Phillies haven't really had a broadcast yet that I could watch at least on MLB TV. And so everyone's talking about Marshawn, like all their announcers and stuff. It's like, hey, this is a guy. Like our team should, if the Phillies decide not to keep him on their opening day roster and they try and sneak him through waivers, our team should be snagging him. And if I know it's their job, but even if these announcer guys are talking about him like that, don't let it happen because front office guys are talking the same way, if not more. So I think that one's pretty cut and dry. Fifth starter, it's going to be Luzardo for the most part, unless he lays an absolute stinker in spring training here. But it's going to be Luzardo. Taijuan Walker and Joe Ross could push for it, but I think they'll both either, like we were just saying, Joe Ross might end up in the minor leagues. Possibly Taijuan Walker probably ends up in the bullpen, unless he actually looks like he's back to form. And then back to form Taijuan Walker, that's another scary starter situation. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. But another thing to keep an eye on would be the bench roles. You got Sosa and Rojas are pretty much locked in. Weston Wilson, I thought he was for sure gonna get the another like right-handed outfield bat spot on this team, and then he has an oblique issue right now, so I don't know when he'll be ready to go. I forget what the reports are saying, so it's kind of looking like the bench roles: Sosa, Rojas, Marshawn, then you got another spot.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether that comes down to, I want to see it go to Clemens, but I'd love to see it go to Weston Wilson also. And there's another guy in spring training right now, Rafael Antigua, who's had some pretty solid seasons for the Blue Jays in the minor leagues. And he's having a pretty good spring right now. Like, he's looked pretty good in, the 7 at-bats he's had. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. But
Yeah,
the
I
main,
mean,
yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, he might start out in AAA too, and just kind of see how
Yeah,
they do.
I'm assuming he's in on a minor league deal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing we got to talk about here to close it out, and maybe this can be something that we talk a little bit about now, we talk a little bit about later, we might just talk a little bit about it throughout the year. Alec Bohm and Trey Turner's future with the team. So Aiden Miller, who we surprisingly haven't really talked much about at all today, pushing his way through the system. Dombrowski has a quote out there where I forget his kind of mentor, but whoever his kind of role model mentor was for front office stuff said the line of special players essentially come in at their own time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole thing where you don't want to push players to get here sooner than they should be. Yeah, that's fair. You want to give players adequate time, you want to let them get here. But special players get here sooner. And that's just how it is. And he was saying that in context of Aiden Miller. And you can essentially say the plan for Miller was to have 3 or 4 years in the minors before he even got close to getting here. Nice plan until, he's a special player. 1 year in, he's looking like he could be up here by the end of next year. Or, sorry, end of this year. What happens? Like, if he has an amazing year in the minors, there's no way he shouldn't be on the team next year.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happens to Bohm? What happens to Turner? You're not going to get rid of Stott. Or are you?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year, like all
Because
three of
Miller's
those.
not going to play second.
No, I think it's more between Bohm or Stott because I mean, no one's going to want that Turner contract. You can always move Turner to second if Bohm, Bohm's the guy. But then if we want to keep Stott, you can move. So I think really for those two, and I mean, as of now, based on last year, it seems like Bohm's kind of the odd man out.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because he'll need a contract soon, so maybe they're just kind of waiting with him. But I mean, so Stott's gonna need a contract soon as well, just not quite yet. So
I
yeah,
don't
no, I
think
mean,
Stott's contract probably won't be as much as
yeah,
Bohm's contract would be either.
yeah, very true. So
I don't
yeah,
know.
it is
It's just
interesting.
something to think about
hmm I
moving
mean,
forward.
I think Miller could be a similar player to Bohm, except just more home runs, which
Just
is like,
better.
yeah, I mean, obviously we've had our share of of bust, but I mean, he just seems
Yeah.
like he's the full package.
I've heard people say he's the best Phillies prospect since Mike Schmidt.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah. Well, just think about that. Like, best prospects since Schmidt. Well, you've had Rollins. Well, I combined two people in one. You've had Scott Rowland. You've had Jimmy Rollins. You've had Utley, Howard, Nola. Don't want to discredit Nola. Hoskins,
J.P.
Dom
Crawford.
Brown, J.P. Crawford. Um, we don't want to put him in the same boat as J.P. Crawford, but um, like you've had these really good players come through, and here you're saying he's probably the best one since Schmidt, and that's just wild.
Yeah,
Because when was Schmidt's rookie year? Because obviously it was well before 1980.
I don't remember
I should I should know
those years.
this. I wasn't born.
I think it was 68.
I wasn't even a thought on this planet.
72 was his first year.
Yeah, I was gonna say 58's way too early. He was born in 49, so 58 would have been way too early.
I said 68, but yeah, even
Sorry.
still, that's all right. That would have
But
been crazy. He
it'll
played since 58 to like 89 or 9, whatever he stopped.
that would have been crazy.
What's your take on Justin Crawford? I mean, he's 21. He
Yeah,
just turned 21 though, but I mean, he seems like he might.
I think what's gonna happen with him is it's gonna the same conversation we're having about Bohm, we're gonna have about Marsh.
Yeah.
And so I think now by the time Crawford's ready to come up, I don't think it'll be this year. I think we'll talk about it more next year,
hmm
but I think it's still 2 years until Crawford really gets here.
Yeah.
in which Cassie will probably be gone. Kepler's going to be long gone. Outfield's going to look a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have openings. And I think the Phillies would probably be hopeful that Rojas has a good year this year. Marsh has a good year this year. And your outfield could look something along the lines of Marsh, Rojas, and Crawford. Now, that's a lot of wishful thinking. But yeah, I think what comes down to between then and now is how does Marsh develop? Is he someone you're going to want to keep around? Because if Marsh isn't, then Crawford's going to take his spot. They're two completely different players, but left-handed hitting outfielder is really what it comes down to in the Phillies' eyes. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to come down to, is Marsh producing? Is he not? If he's not, he's gone, and Crawford, you're up.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like him. If he could start hitting line drives instead of whacking everything into the ground, love it. I have nothing against whacking stuff into the ground though. Like, I've always been, even when I played baseball, it was line drives and ground balls. Make the defenders do something to get you out. Because there's nothing wrong with a deep fly as long as it goes over the fence.
Mm-hmm.
But I like line drive ground balls, especially with his speed. Make the defense make a play. And more times than not, line drive ground ball with someone with his speed, the defense is going to make a mistake, and it's going to cost something. So, I don't know. I really like him. I love him. But he's really awkward. Like, he got tall. Like, he is big. Like, he looks more muscular too, but he got tall. It's just kind of wild. Like, I saw him during the one spring training game recently, and it was just like he got tall.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of looks like, with how fast he is for his size, he just looks awkward.
Yeah. Hopefully he can like fill out his frame a little bit more.
Yeah, if he could hit for some more power, that'd be nice, but it's not the end of the world if he can't.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you could just start getting him to hit more line drives than ground balls, I don't know. Wishful thinking. But I don't know. It'll be a good year. And even if, or let's put it this way, this is a very key year coming up. The Phillies are either gonna turn the corner and have clear direction moving forward with the current team, or they're gonna clearly know what they need to do to fix it moving forward and what directions they're gonna need to take. If things don't go well, I don't think you can just re-sign JT and Schwarber and just keep going. If things go poorly, you're gonna have to probably let both of them walk. Unfortunately, like, I don't know.
I think Schwarber's a lock to get another contract. You don't think so?
Not really, just because I don't know if they really want 2 more years of Schwarber and Cassie on the same team.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong. But
no, I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't put much thought into it yet.
Our offense does just seem like
it seems stagnant.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem exciting.
Yeah, it's like we've seen the same thing for the last however many years. So
I'm still very much a traditionalist though too, because I like I like speed at the top, power in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
defense at
Yeah.
the bottom.
No, me too. Yeah, me too.
um,
Um,
yeah, I don't know. I've always compared Justin Crawford to Kenny Lofton. Or, well, I used to compare Rojas to Kenny Lofton, but because I always thought Rojas would turn it around and start hitting for some average. Um, but he hasn't been able to really do that yet, so we'll see. But I don't know. It's a key year, so we'll see how it goes.
it is.
Yep.
It is.
Yep. Well, it's been good. It's been good. It's great talking with you guys. Um, Stay tuned. It's going to be a good year, not just for the Phillies, but for us too. So, stay tuned. Both of us are actually going down to spring training in the next couple of weeks. So, um, I'll be at that prospect showcase, the spring breakout. Me and my brother might, I don't know, record something while we're there. Who knows? We'll see. But no, it'll be good. We'll do a recap of what we thought from when we were in spring training, and we'll definitely get you our season predictions coming up also. But yeah,
Yeah, stay tuned. Big Philly season coming up ahead. It'll be opening day will be here hopefully quickly. It's not even March yet, but I hope it comes quick. I hope it goes
hey,
fast.
March is Saturday, so
True, true. I forgot February's a short month.
yeah.
But
Alrighty. Well, you know how it is. Go Phils, and
go Phils.
see you later in the season.